Understand the difference between governance and management is important.
Everybody who's studying for the CISM is coming from a different background.
We have different knowledge, different ways we're used to viewing IT security. If you're normally a hands-on techie like I was, you need to stop thinking like that. You're not there to fix anything. And if you're normally a C-level executive, you need to stop that thinking too. For the certification, you are management. You're an IT security manager or risk analyst or something on that level. Answer everything from that. I'm going to keep saying this throughout the course, but it's really important. If you know this already, if you understand it, if you live it, just ignore me. But this is very essential. So the security governance is handled by senior leader executives. That's the CFO, the CEO, the CIO, all the people at the top. They set the direction we're going, or they get it from a board, and then they execute on that. They're the high-level ideas, the high-level thinkers. And they also determine our risk appetite. Are we aggressive, neutral, or adverse? Basically, are we taking chances, are we kind of middle of the road, or are we avoiding the conflict? Each of those come with a cost, and very different challenges and opportunities. Where you as a manager, you get told where we need to go, and it's up to you to figure out how we get there. Which security measures do we need to implement? You translate their direction into action. You do the plans, you build it, and then when it's done, you run it and monitor it to make sure that it does what we need it to do. Then obviously we need to figure out how to work with the direction we've been given. How do we implement the practical security with the risk appetite the organization has? And we clearly communicate to the IT leadership and the senior leadership what the costs are, what the impacts are, what the risks are, so they can make their informed decisions. So in IT security governance, there are in general two types of organizations. There's bottoms up. That means that we're trying to do everything we can to make the organization better, but us being at the bottom of the organization, we try to influence up, but it's in no way an ideal situation. And then the opposite of that would be a top-down IT security structure. This is where the senior leadership is on board. They understand the importance of IT security. They lead and they set the direction. And for the exam, this is how it's going to be. The organization you're going to be in is a top-down organization. We discussed how the senior leadership is ultimately liable, because it's their responsibility to set the direction and ensure what they ask for is being done. For the exam, you also need to know some of the titles. There's not more than a handful, but they are important. The CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, is the head of the organization. They often have the title of President as well. The CFO is also very important. They're the money of the organization. That's the Chief Financial Officer. While they're not necessarily part of our reporting structure, they are an integral part of the organization, and their ultimate responsibility that we're financially viable. We talked about it earlier how we need to implement the right security measures and not waste our money. And here again, we give them the facts, we advise, we come up with the suggestions, but in the end it is the senior leadership that makes the decision. In many organizations, over the IT department there would be CIO or a CTO, a Chief Information Officer or a Chief Technology Officer, and then below that would be a Chief Security Officer. In an ideal world and on the exam, the Chief Security Officer would report directly to the CEO. That can ensure there's less bias and no preferential treatment for the IT department. Most organizations obviously have a lot more C-level executives. Which ones you have and how many you have really depends on the organization. But for the certification, know at least these, and also understand where you fit in the picture. Luckily for us, when we build standards and when we use control frameworks, there are a lot of ones in existence we can just use. In this section, we're just going to touch briefly on some of the standards and control frameworks, the ones that are important for the certification we're going to be covering in Domain 2. And that is COBIT and ISO 27001 and 27002. Those three, we're going to go a lot more in depth in the next domain. But I figured that it would make sense to touch on here while we look at other regulations and some frameworks. So when you have passed your certification and you're working somewhere where you're using your system and you have all that knowledge, you're able to explain it to someone in layman's terms who doesn't. The PCI DSS is the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is just a standard, but all the major credit card companies require anyone who wants to do business with them to apply to it. We're going to go into more detail on this one later. If you want to know more about these, there are going to be links to them. Octave is self-directed risk management. COBIT is goals for the IT organization, where we map down the stakeholders' needs into IT-related goals. COSO is similar, but it's goal for the entire organization. ITIL is IT service management. And FRAP facilitated risk analysis process. We analyze one business unit application system at a time, but it's important that it's internal. We sit down, we talk it over, we analyze the risks, but we do it within the company. For the ISO 27000 series, I would also suggest you do a little more in-depth research on them. ISO 27001 is used to establish, implement, control, and improve the ITSM, which was the IT Service Management. And it uses a methodology called Plan, Do, Check, Act. ISO 27002 was originally from the British standard 7799, Part 1 and 2, which turned into ISO 17799, but they're now all merged into ISO 2702, and provides practical information on how to implement security controls using its 10 domains for ITSM. 04 is providing the metrics to ensure your ITSM is successful. How do we know what success looks like? 05 is a risk management approach that's based on standards. And then finally 27799 are directives and standards on how to protect PHI. That's personal health information. We covered the defense in depth a little bit earlier, where it's a layered defense or an onion defense, and it is really just that. We implement multiple overlapping security controls to protect an asset. To get to a physical server, you go through multiple doors, security guards, man traps, the rack cabinet might be locked, the KVM, that's the keyboard, video, and mouse. The console you use to log into the computer could be password protected, and the USB port on the server could be locked down. Each of these controls by itself might be easy to bypass, but when they're all there together, it makes it much harder to get to an asset. The same logically. We have firewalls, routers, switches. The server is hardened. The security and the application is hardened. So even if an attacker gets to 1, 2, or 3 of the countermeasures we have in place, we can still secure our data. No single security control secures the asset, but all of them in unison makes it as secure as we need it to be. And then by having the defense in depth, we can protect our confidentiality, integrity, and availability.